I'm Harry, and I made a concussion charity called Neuroshield Foundation, and a card game that comes with the charity called Cagoga. I made the concussion charity as a representation of what I suffered in my concussion, and I want to help others who are going through a similar process. So I made the card game as a way to spread awareness and bring some joy into concussions, which is naturally a very dark and lonely process and a very dark recovery. I knew it was getting worse because my energy and just concentration was decreasing. So the amount of time I could just spend looking at something and like my amount of focus just in general. So when someone's speaking to me, how tired I would get after a certain amount of time. Um, it was changing and I was basically wearing down very quickly with any just mental activity. So from that, I knew my concussion was getting worse. Painful memory would just be waking up and then you're still tired and your head hurts and it's just unpleasant. And like turning on too much light or just listening to too loud of a sound would make my brain feel like it's gonna explode. That was probably the most painful. And not being able to be out and about and you kind of feel like you're missing out on the world. It was only after a few months I accepted that this was what I was gonna go through. And after that, I think my anxiety and worries went away, and that helped with recovery. It mostly consisted of just sleeping with my cat Snowball, who was with me all the time. So joyful memory would just be waking up and seeing Snowball right next to my head. She would like either be just cat loafed right next to me, so I would wake up and see her cute face, or she would be right on top of my pillow, so I would basically tilt my head back a bit more and then see her. I think if I were to tell my former self something, it would be to let everything go and stop worrying, because there's nothing I could do to change reality. And I think you just need to accept that. And I didn't at the start, but then through just continuously not having a choice, that I learned to accept the situation. But I would try to convince my former self to accept the situation, even though I don't think my former self would listen. I've definitely grown up and just think I'm a lot mature in dealing with hardships and more persistent in doing things I focus on and want in life. And definitely also don't give up as easily. I think missing out on a year of school also definitely brought some determination and drive that still pushes me forward to this day. Maybe the lessons learned will actually outweigh the consequences I had to pay. So the card game was meant to be Cards Against Concussions, but I felt that it was unnecessarily long and not too catchy and memorable. So I was like, why not pick the first few characters of each word and join them together? And then spelt it wrong. But then Cagoga just sounded better than the actual correct spelling. On each card, we snuck in info. Some of them are funny jokes, and whereas others are facts about the thing in real life. So a falling ceiling card will have the fact that a 6x6 ceiling is, I think, 25 kgs. And you have other cards such as cognitive dissonance, which basically describe how this arises and what it causes, and kind of maybe how to fix that. All of the symptom cards in the base expansion are concussion related. All of them I've suffered at some point, some more than others. Um, Example would be like imbalance, where walking in a straight line is very difficult because I would always start tilting to one side. A headache band was also a common thing where I would just feel an invisible band like pulling on my head, and it was some pain. It was painful, but also really annoying. I was just consistently bugging me. With each as box that of the card game, we've included a booklet of basically what to do if you have a concussion, resources you could call, and national helplines. I feel really lucky because I only I came away from the concussion with very minor long-term effect. So only the headache that sometimes comes and goes, as I mentioned before, but I consider myself lucky because there are many people who have suffered concussion and they experience basically brain damage and basically permanent um, like loss of maybe hearing or loss of some bodily function, or they've basically not able to look after themselves anymore. And I feel really lucky in that I don't have any of those symptoms, and I only maybe get a headache, which isn't really bad compared to maybe being in half paralysis. The logo is my cat Snowball on top of a brain, which is just my brain. And it's just basically her comforting me and making my journey a lot less lonely than it was. She slept quite a lot, like I did. So yeah, it's something I would like to give a tribute to. That basically turned into the charity logo.